So, yeah, it's getting warm.
You like to do things in extreme temperatures. You're always either doing a podcast in 112 degrees or like negative 20 degrees.
Well, there is some truth to that. I don't know that I like to do things in extreme temperatures, but, you know, this has been one of the hottest weeks of the year.
One of the hottest weeks of the century.
Yeah, actually, that's true. And the reality is the men and women who do the work in the trades, they're still working in that. They're still doing that. And so I do have a sense of feeling like, well, we should work where they work. I mean, it's all we're doing is sitting here on our asses having a conversation. We should be able to take a little bit of heat or a little bit of cold. We're not going to be out here for 8 hours. So, yeah, I guess I do. You could say I like extreme temperatures. I don't. It's my way of honoring the men and women who do the work. It gets a little difficult sometimes with the camera equipment.
Yeah, that's true.
For me personally, I would much rather do it in the cold than in the heat. I've done some really, really cold podcasts. Probably the coldest was we were braving 30 or 40 mile an hour winds off of Lake Superior. It actually wasn't that cold temperature wise, but the wind made it like I did a podcast like a year later then in like 10 degrees, which is really cold.
Yeah.
But I was colder off of Lake Superior than I was in the 10 degrees.
That's one thing I've always, whenever it's cold out, it's winter, I'm working.
Yeah.
I can deal with cold.
Yeah.
Like you can layer up and you're fine. It can be 10 degrees outside. If it's calm, it's beautiful.
Right.
But as soon as you start getting wind, it's not just like there's the wind chill, sure, but it just sucks all the heat out of your clothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can deal with cold, but as soon as you get wind, it's like nah.
Yeah. Yeah, wind is which is the problem that I have with the heat is like even right now I'm sitting here and I'm turning into a puddle of sweat. And it's like gets into my eyes when I'm trying to work. It's like cold, I feel like I can always put more on or I can do things. You can only take so much off legally.
Yeah.
So
that was somebody said that yesterday. He's like, yeah, well, you can only take so much off before you get arrested.
Yeah. So yesterday, what was some of the things that you were working on?
So I started out my day on a job site, and it's kind of close to the end. It's a hotel, and it's right. It's in the last month.
Okay.
Of the job, so we're starting up on the fire alarm. So I was out there getting a guy sort of familiarized. He knows fire alarm, but he was just bringing him up to speed on where the job is at because he didn't run all the wiring. So I wanted to make sure he was familiarized with it.
Right.
And then so that was originally just going to be like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that turned into a 3-hour thing because we were also pulling a feeder, and then the head came apart. Well, no, actually the rope broke, and I was the only one that knows how to rebraid a loop onto the end of the rope. So I was showing the guys how to do that then. So we pulled. Well, the foreman came up to me and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna need your help. Rope snapped." I was like, "Oh boy," and they were pretty far. And he's like, "We were almost done." And I was like, "Okay," because sometimes that can be a bear.
Yeah.
Pull out. Yeah. So fortunately, it was not. It was. It wasn't through all the 90s yet, and so it pulled out actually really smooth.
I remember years ago being involved in a wire pull in like a. I want to be careful how I say this because, but I'll call it a mini high rise. And we were pulling wire vertically, which I had never done before, and the head broke, and it was. I think it actually broke more than once, and then finally we were using a come along and a hoist to actually get the wire up to where we needed it to be. But
it is so demoralizing when you're
Oh, you can see it.
You can see it, or like the rope comes apart and you pull 2 feet of rope out, and so you know the wire is
Yeah.
right there, and
Yeah.
you can't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had on occasion where you just barely get the head and you can attach a lug to it or something and continue pulling, but yeah, it's like, of course that's when it wants to break, is when
Right.
you're almost there.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Well, here we are. We're sitting in the middle of farmland. During, as you said, one of the hottest weeks of the century. And part of the reason that we're sitting here is this is where you got started when you started into the workforce.
mm-hmm.
You started on a farm. And Nathan, I'm here with you today, and I want to, you're currently an owner-operator, working in the trades. You manage a company of men and women, and you're part of a team doing that. So we just kind of want to talk about the trades, and that's what we do here on the line, and we want to talk about where you come from and where we're going as a country, as an industry. So I guess, Nathan, I'm just curious, when you got started, what transitioned you from farm work into wanting to actually become an electrician by trade?
Well, I actually think that starts way before I started on farm work. So growing up, my dad's was a pastor.
Yeah.
And I come from a fairly large family. It's, there's 6 of us kids, and so whenever something broke around the house or my dad needed to do something, we didn't have money to
Right.
hire somebody. My dad would always just fix stuff.
Right.
It was just kind of who he was, and from a really young age, I would always be there with him. I was always fascinated by tools, and my dad was fixing something, I was right there alongside him.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of always had a desire for taking things apart and learning how things work and fixing things and all that. So anyways, then so that desire was really planted in me at a young age. And then starting into farm work, I needed a car, so I needed money. So I lived next door to a farm, and so we just walked down there one day and was like, hey, can I have a job? So,
Right.
So I worked there for a long time. And then my brother actually worked for an electric company, and I told him one day, because I needed more money as,
Yeah.
I got a little older.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I worked on the farm, mostly milking cows. And
Okay.
then I started working at a gas station. And I worked in the food area. They have made to order food and whatnot. So I worked there. And I remember really distinctly, I had told my brother, hey, can you tell your boss, let me know if there's an opening. I'd love to be an electrician, because you're an electrician, or he was
Right.
working towards it. And
Yeah.
I had a friend who was an electrician, so that kind of was like, I think I want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember I was washing dishes when my brother's boss called me. He's like, hey,
Like at home or at a
no,
job?
I was at the gas station washing pizza pans. I was washing pizza pans. It's like seared into my brain. I remember I was just washing dishes, up to my elbows in suds. And my brother's boss called me. I was like, hey, I heard you were looking for a job, and was wondering if you'd want to come for an interview. And that was I think that was 2011.
Okay.
That
Wow.
was. So that was kind of how I got into it,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I started part-time. I think I only worked 2 days a week. I think it was like, because I was still in high school. I was a senior.
Right.
And I worked Tuesdays and Thursdays. I started in November, so it was cold.
Yeah.
And all I did for 6 months is just sort material. I remember there was a big bucket of nuts and bolts, and my boss plopped it down and was like, here, you can just sort through these. And I was in a shop, standing at a table, sorting. This is a 1/4 nut. This is a 3/8 nut. I didn't know what they were, but I was like, this looks the same. This looks the same.
Yeah.
And then other miscellaneous materials. So I spent. I think it was 6 months. It might not have been. It felt like 6 months.
It's funny how time works when you're younger. I had a similar experience, and I remember when I started in the trade, walking in and a guy showing me racks and racks of conduit, standing up, and he was like, "Yeah, that's 1/2 inch, that's 3/4, that's 1.25 inches, that's 1.5 inches," and I'm like, "How do you know that?" Like, there was no signs that said what size it was. He just looked at it and knew it.
Yeah. Well, and I also remember then when I was sorting material, I could have been more intuitive. I was kind of just, well, but I just remember I would constantly be going, because the shop, there was like a shop. It was kind of shaped like an L, and then the office was in the in the L portion.
Right.
So it was a rectangle, but then the shop portion was like an L. I'd go in with, I don't know, a 1/2 inch set screw coupling. I was like, well, what's this? Where does this? That's a 1/2 inch set screw coupling. Well, what's this? Well, that's a compression coupling. And I think I annoyed him a little bit, because I kind of remember one day he's like, all right, you need to start like looking at the material and see if you can figure it out. You don't need to come into me every 5 minutes, because he's trying to bid or whatever. And I'm every 5 minutes, I'm this little 18-year-old coming in. Hey, what's this screw? What's this? How does this work? How does that? And it's like,
you touch on something that I find really interesting in the trades, as I have mentored people, as I have been mentored, and I've had to learn this too. So when I say this, don't think that, sorry, I got distracted because a drone is flying over us right now, and it's really hot, and I just wish he would stay right over top of me right now. Feels like a outside fan. But like, you touch on something that I find very, very interesting, and that is, I don't know if I would call it critical thinking or if I would call it thinking, but like, I can remember dealing with and being the person that it's like, you have to learn to think for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you have to learn to be like, all right, and what is that? When do you think it was for you where you had the epiphany or the awareness to be like, all right, I need to problem solve this myself at least a little bit before I go ask the question? Because I feel like there is this, especially, and I'm an older guy now, so I'm saying this, but especially with younger people, but I think it's always that way. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything different with the younger people of today than there were when it was me, because I had to learn this too. But that, how far do you push to try to figure something out yourself before you go ask? Because we don't want people not to ask, but yet we don't want people not to think.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I have a hard, because it's not like a light switch that goes off that all of a sudden I can figure things out. Because I remember, so I actually had, there's two bosses. One was more in the office, and the other guy was more in the field. They were kind of split like that. So, and my boss that was in the field, he just, I'd be struggling with something for an hour or whatever, and it's just, he'd come over and he would just look at it, and it would work. And I just remember, like, what the world? So I part of it also, I feel like, came from a point of like, I can't call him over here for him just to put his pinky finger on this thing, and all of a sudden, that this is another memory that I have that's kind of burned in my mind. It was the tan wire nuts.
Yeah,
can fit 4 number 12 wires.
Tan twisters, yes.
Tan twisters. They can fit 4 number 12 wires. And I was struggling to get 4. I was like, this doesn't fit. Yeah, you can only do 3. And he comes over and he's like, well, you just hold them together and twist it on. And it's like, what? And so it's just, I think it's just gradually I got kind of tired of being like, can you come fix this for me?
Right.
And some of it comes from skill. Like, as you start to learn how things work, you just sort of naturally figure things out. I've always had a desire to figure things out too. I mean, my dad tells me, when I was younger, one time the refrigerator handle was loose and he couldn't figure it out, and I just went in there one day with some tools and I just took the refrigerator door apart and fixed it.
Yeah.
So I kind of always had that a little bit, but a refrigerator handle, it's 2 screws on the top. It's not that big of a deal, but
when you're 12, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, when you're 12, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So, no, but then when I actually get into construction, there's so much more. And I don't know. I just the biggest thing that I was told is like, hey, don't just look at it and then come have me give you the answer.
Yeah.
You look at it. Now, I don't want you to struggle for an hour.
Yeah.
But look at it, see if you can figure it out, and then talk to me. Like, don't come to me if you don't have an idea
Yeah.
of what you can do to make this work or fix this. Or it's not always fixing things. It's just
Problem solving.
So you have to. I remember there was a time that I called my boss. I was like, hey, how many? We were adding some lights in a factory.
Yeah.
And calling him, hey, how many wires can fit in a half-inch conduit? Because I had to add a circuit, and I wanted to see if there was an existing half-inch conduit that went up to the lights, and I needed to pull a second circuit. And I was like, well, how many wires can fit in here? It's like, well, you have a code book. If you look in your code book,
yeah,
you can figure it out.
Yeah.
And then call me and maybe make sure that you're looking at it right. But my boss made me look for my answer. And then I'd call him, hey, this is what I found in my code book. This is how many wires.
Yeah.
According to this, I can run. There's this many wires in the conduit, so I think I can add these 2 wires.
Yeah.
And he goes, yep, go ahead and do that. So
that's pretty insightful for him to be like, you have a code book. I think that's one of the things that we need to really be aware of. Sometimes we just want to give the answer too, as the person with the answer, so that it can be done with. But like, if that was your boss, he was paying you, and that was going to take longer. But yet, it was the foresight to see that once you learned how to do that, then you knew how to do that. So in the next job, the company could make money.
Yeah, I knew then. Oh, okay, how many wires? And I still use that to this day. Like, oh, how many wires? What size conduit do I need for this feeder? And you look at the feeder size, and then it's really easy nowadays because you have apps. You just plunk in your stuff and voila. But that's actually pretty new that you have apps. I mean, that's honestly, I've only been within the last like 2 or 3 years that I've had an app that I use for that. It always used to be take my Uglies book.
Right.
Uglies books were great for that.
Yeah.
They have reference. You just, and you just look down through the charts and you can figure it out. But I have some foremen. Sometimes they're like, hey, I have these guys. They ask me like, what outlet should I put in here?
Right.
And I've taught him to ask these questions. Sort of. He's also kind of naturally getting fed up with people asking him questions, because then he goes, well, did you look at the drawings to see what it says? Well, no. Well, how about you do that first and then call me and tell me what you find?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when we give guys the answer, every time they ask a question, as the boss, we just want them to be productive.
Right.
So we just go, well, okay, you just need a GSCI there, or you just need a duplex there, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we want it done. We get sometimes so caught up in this has to get done. We have the pressures of the job and whatnot. And so we rob guys of the opportunity to learn because we just give them the answers. They ask a question without looking for it. We just give them the answer.
Right.
And then they never learn how to find the answers that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And
I once had a friend, I have a friend who his kids go to this school, and it's a private school. But I remember he said, well, their mantra is that they don't want to teach the kids what to think. They want to teach them how to think. And the importance of doing the work to learn the information, to get the information. And I think even to what we're talking about, problem solving, don't you feel like you have to have a mindset of there is a way? There is a way to do this. Like looking at it, it's like, and something that I can remember for me, and I still deal with this, because I was just reading or talking with a guy the other day who was talking with me about this book called Atomic Habits. And he was telling me he had just read that you always want to be about 4% out of your ability zone, a little bit farther than what you're capable of, so that you're growing and learning. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. Yeah. But it's like what we need to do when we face a problem. We need to like it's almost like faith. Like you got to believe that there is a way,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps your determination to be like, all right, well, there is a way. I got to be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
and I think you asked how did I get good at problem solving and troubleshooting things, and I was constantly put in positions where I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't have somebody to hold my hand all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything comes with an instruction booklet.
Right.
We usually just throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
But when you have a lighting controller, well, there's 5 wires coming off of this. What wires do I put to what?
Yeah.
If you sit down and just take the time
Yeah.
to read through that instruction booklet, and yes, it takes time.
Yeah.
Yes, that costs money. But then you know how to do it.
Well, everything costs money. I think if you look at things like an investment, well, that's an investment. It's not just an expense.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a cost. So I want to ask you a question. I ask everybody this question. Man, the sun's coming up. It actually feels cooler now than it did before the sun was up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's
little bit.
A little.
Well, I think the humidity is starting to go away.
Well,
That makes a difference.
That does. So here's my question: as the bugs attack my face, what is a tool or a piece of gear that you have to have, that you need to use? You need it every day. You don't want to be without it.
Oh man. Well, I don't want to say a piece of technology because that's kind of lame. So I'm not gonna go with that. But I would say, as far as like tools in my tool bag that I use the most when I'm not losing them and having to buy new ones, I think I use my linesman's the most.
Yeah.
It's a very versatile.
It is. It
tool.
is. That was always my favorite. Whether I needed it the most, it was always my favorite.
Because you have diagonal cutters, and it's like that's great, but you can only cut things with that.
Right.
Or you have a pair of pliers,
Yeah.
but you can only grip things with that. Linesmans are great because you can cut, you can grab, you can hammer. There was one time I was doing something with my daughter, and I had my linesmans, and I was like telling her what it is. Like, oh, this is a pair of linesman's pliers. You can cut things with it or whatnot. And she's like, no, Daddy, that's a hammer.
Oh, she sounds like an electrician.
Yeah, so I was like, no, I know it might seem that way because of how I use it, but no, it's not a hammer. So, yeah,
that's awesome. So you started into the trade a lot about problem solving and learning how to think and going through that process. Fast forward a little bit, now you're managing multi-million-dollar projects. You're managing crews of people, and you've entered into ownership in a company where you have a piece of pie. How did you get there? Like for our listeners, that are listening to this, it's like, how did you go from washing dishes in a gas station to owning a piece of a construction firm that is managing multi-million-dollar projects?
So I think, honestly, you can sum that up with one word.
Okay.
I think that word is teachability.
Mm.
So, I started sorting nuts and bolts then when I actually started into the trades. But I was a bit of a shithead. So, I had some natural inclinations. I could figure things out and whatnot to a degree, not to the degree that I thought I could.
Yeah.
And I think I was a little overzealous at times, but
like, what do you mean when you say you were a bit of a shithead?
So great example. First of all, I was around a lot of people that didn't pull punches when they needed to correct me on something, which was super helpful.
Yeah.
But I was on a job and I needed to borrow my foreman's tools for something.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, I think he told me, it's like, hey, you've borrowed that tool 2 or 3 times. You just need to go buy yourself one of those tools. And I don't even know if I was in the apprenticeship program yet. I might have been a first-year apprentice.
Wow.
And I was like, well, when I'm a foreman, I'm just going to have an extra set of tools that I can just let people borrow. So they don't have to go always be buying tools.
Wait, these were words that out loud came out of your mouth?
Yeah, these were words that out loud, they should not have left my mouth, but they did.
So you said to your foreman, just so I get this right, When I'm a foreman.
When I'm a
those
foreman.
were all right. Yeah, you were a shithead.
Yeah. And then my boss is like, not everybody becomes a foreman. Some people, and he was talking about me. Some people will never be a foreman. And I think that my boss thought that I was never going to be a foreman. And I'm not sure at that time that he was wrong.
Oh, that's an insightful statement.
But so I was blissfully unaware after that conversation until they brought me in the office and, hey, what you said was incredibly disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. I just always had a mindset, if someone's correcting you, you don't get all defensive. You listen to them, and if you're offended by something that they say, or you don't feel like, well, you don't really understand. This is my mindset, and it's like, oh, that's all fine and good. Maybe you don't. Maybe they misunderstood it. But the reality of it is, as soon as you start getting defensive and be like, well, no, you're thinking about how you're right.
Right.
And you're completely disregarding everything that they're telling you, everything they're trying to teach you, and you're just trying to justify it in your mind. Like, well, actually this, or actually that. And my kids do that, It's, oh, well, I'm trying to correct my daughter on something, and it's like, well, yeah, but my brother this, and my brother that. And I tell her, we're not, I understand that he's got his issues, and that frustrates you about him, but we're talking about you right now.
Yeah.
And we're talking about what you can do to be better.
Yeah.
And so whenever I've been corrected, I've always just been like, you know what? I'm going to take my pride out of it.
Yeah.
Because I think pride is an absolute killer to learning anything.
Oh, it absolutely is.
And
it's a killer to any type of success.
Yeah. Precisely. So you have to just swallow your pride and, okay, this is what they're telling me I can do better at. And if they're telling me that I'm wrong, I should assume that I'm wrong and that I need to learn.
Yeah.
And that's what teachability is. Because it's just not thinking more of yourself than you ought, and just, okay, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna ignore everything that I think I might have been right about.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna learn.
Yeah.
And if you can do that time and time again, because there has been a lot of that through my career. That's probably the most stark example. But I had people around me that were willing to, they weren't jerks about it,
right?
But they were willing to talk to me and be like, hey, you need to do differently here.
Yeah.
And I was willing to learn that. And
when people did that with you, and I'm curious about this, and you talk about what you call teachability, was there something about the way that they talked with you that made that more palatable? Like did you feel like they cared about you, or did you feel like they were just like putting their thumb down on you?
Yeah, I definitely could tell they cared. And it wasn't.
Why could you tell that they cared? Because like that is really important for people who are listening now that are managing people. Like, well, what was it that made them, when they're like, hey, shithead, as you said, what was it that made you feel like they cared? Because that, I would think, triggers the, oh, I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah. I think that one, I knew who they were. I knew their heart.
Yeah.
But they never yelled. They never raised their voice at me. It was just like, hey, we can talk about this. And, I think in the trades a lot of times it's like, oh, let's go, haze the apprentice, or let's, just you see guys just absolutely ripping into people.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of that, and it's just like guys, they go on a job and every little thing they do, it's just like, oh, you're not good enough. You're just getting tore apart.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that. There was no degrading of them, because that's not helpful. And some of the guys that I've heard this a lot of times, it's like, hey, listen, this seems obvious to me because I've been doing this for however long.
Yeah.
You haven't. So I understand, there was just understanding there. It's like, I understand that this isn't obvious to you.
Yeah.
And that's helpful for me when I'm trying to teach guys. It's like I have to remember. It's like I do things just without even thinking about it. I don't know why I do this. I don't know
Yeah.
why I do that.
Yeah.
I just do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like driving. It's really obvious. I don't even think.
Yeah.
And when it comes from a place of this is obvious to me and I know that it's not to you, I think that's something that's helpful.
Yeah, I would agree. You talk about you talk about you knew that they cared, and you knew them in the trades. How is it that we know people? How is it that you knew them? Like, and I asked that question. What did they do that made you know them? Like, do you? I'll just talk here a little bit and give you some time to think. But like, you obviously worked alongside them. You obviously related with them. You obviously asked them, how many wires go into wire nut. You know, I guess my question is, what is it to communicate that you care, and what is it to see that and receive that, like on the job site? What does that look like on the job? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do I, when I'm out there on the job and I'm a foreman or a superintendent or a project manager even, how do I communicate to the guys in the field, in the dirt, in the heat, in the cold? How do I communicate to them that I care? What is it that does that?
Well, I think here's a good example. The a lot of times the apprentices and whatnot, the mindset is that, well, we'll just give the apprentice the crap work,
Right.
and
Right.
it's like, well, you just go sweep.
Yeah.
But I think what really communicates that your boss cares when he's out there sweeping,
Yeah.
and when he's more than willing to jump in that muddy ditch,
Right.
and he's more than willing to be out in the cold with you. There's you see stuff on Instagram and whatnot all the time. It's like, well, the foreman just sits in the truck all day. And I think that something that communicates that you care is when the foreman doesn't just sit in his truck all day. He's more than willing to hop out and get dirty with you.
Right.
And
Right.
That, I think, communicates that they care.
Yeah.
Because it's when you're just sitting in your truck all day, it's like, well, I'm better than you. It's like, well, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not better than you.
Yeah.
People sometimes they hate. It's like, well, I'm just going back to the shop because I'm not important.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an owner operator, and I'll be the first one to go back to the shop and work if it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope that communicates that I care.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think caring is being willing to do what is viewed as the shit tasks.
Yeah. I know my boss, years and years ago, I was working in a trade, and we were working on a project, and he was there organizing the gang box. And I was so struck by that, it made me go, wait a minute, what? Really? And it really affected me in a way that was like, he's the owner. He is the owner, and he's here doing that task in that way. And it was like, man, it gave me so much respect for him. It gave me, it let me know that he cared. Now, I also realized that there's an efficiency to that. He wanted me to keep working on my task, and that was not as important, but me staying moving was. And so, and his job suited more that it was like, oh, I can sweep, or I can do this, or I can organize that. And it didn't hinder it. So.
Yeah. Well, and I tell guys, if they're starting to run work, it's like your number one priority is to make sure that everybody else is operating smoothly.
Yeah.
If that means going and getting them material so they don't have to walk back to the shelf or whatever and get material, or if that means that you organize it and you pick up trash and
Right.
you do, I'm constantly going around and picking up trash and just doing little piddly things, and I hope that communicates that I care.
Yeah.
To guys, because that's what communicated to me that my
Right.
bosses cared.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes because you get busy and it's there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it can be difficult at times to remember to slow down a little bit and take the time to show guys that you care.
Yeah.
And I think when we lose sight of that, it's really detrimental
Yeah.
to teaching the next generation.
What do you what is your favorite thing about, the work that you do? And yeah, what is your favorite thing about what you do in the trades and in construction?
So I just love taking, when we start out on a project, it's just, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of dirt. A lot of times I scroll back through photos from a year ago,
Yeah.
and, we'll take a picture and it's like, oh, well, this is just an open field or
Right.
whatever. And then you can.
You mean like we're sitting in right now?
Yeah. As much as I don't like, just taking up beautiful fields, but you start with nothing. There's nothing there. There's no utilities in the ground. It's just dirt, grass, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you go from that, and you just put in all utilities and all that. And I love going back through and seeing, it's like, oh yeah, we're running up the stair towers, running conduits up inside the stair towers back there, and we were doing under slab, or and just the progression of that. And then you get to the end, and you end up with a fully functioning building that people can live in, or stay in, or operate whatever their business is out of. And I just the fulfillment that you get from building something.
Yeah.
I constantly drive around and I see construction sites, and I'm just like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wow, they're building. That's a really big building. That's gonna be really awesome. And it's just, that's just naturally kind of who I am. I'm very weird in that way. I love working. I absolutely love working. I go on vacation and I just can't wait to get back. And my wife is like, oh, we got to take a vacation. I'm like, okay. I'm like, man, I don't know what to do with all my vacation time this year. She's like, I do.
My dad was a carpenter, and I remember we were on vacation when I was a kid, and someone like a kid stood up on a sink or something, and it broke off the wall. I never saw my dad so excited. He ran out to his truck, got his tools, because he took his tools on vacation, like blue collar tradesman. Yeah. What do you think? Here we are. We're in the heat of the summer here in the United States of America, celebrating 250 years of America. What is it about America and the skilled trades that you think has provided the opportunity to you in the work that you're doing? Like, going from washing dishes in a gas station, being an apprentice, being a foreman, a superintendent, and an owner-operator now. Now you own a piece of the company. What has America provided in that opportunity for you, in that structure in your life?
I mean, where else in the world, and what other industry can you go from being a guy that's sorting? And I have no formal education at all. I went through the apprenticeship program, and I graduated that. Then I took tests, got my journeyman's, eventually got my master's. And what other industry in the world can you do that in? I hear constantly, it's like, well, you're really qualified.
Yeah.
But you don't have a college degree, so we can't promote you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think America's always been about innovation, building, so as far as America goes, problem solving.
Yeah.
I mean, we have freedom here that fosters that.
Yeah.
And then in the blue collar, the trades, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're educated. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah. Can you do the work?
Can you do the work? Can you figure it out?
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
And just the sky's the limit, really.
Yeah.
And we sometimes we get so focused on, I need this, I need that, I need things, and it's just like, well, you got to build your career. Sometimes we get so focused on, it's like, I want to make an extra buck. I want to make this. I want to make that. And it's just like,
Yeah.
Focus first on building the career, building your skills and all that. And then if you do that,
Yeah. Come on.
then it'll come. Then it'll come. I haven't gotten to where I'm at by just being like, oh, I want an extra buck. I want an extra buck here. I want an extra buck there. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. The focus has always been build your skills. A career is built over 50 years.
Yeah.
If you've been doing this for 2 years,
come on.
That's not the time to be like, I want this, I want that. Because
Yeah.
how many opportunities do you give
It's not
up?
the time to say when I'm a foreman.
It's not time to say when I'm a foreman.
Yeah.
How many opportunities do you give up because
Yeah.
somebody's willing to pay you an extra $1?
Yeah. Oh, come on.
I would never be where I'm at if I would just jump ship because, that guy's going to pay me extra. Oh, that guy's going to pay me. You'll never get anywhere.
Yeah.
This is something that was huge to me. And, I've worked for the same company my entire career. There was an old guy on a general contractor. He worked for a general contractor we were working with. And he said to me, he's like, when I was younger, I made more than all my friends. I made more than all my friends. And I would I was like that because this guy's willing to pay me $2 more an hour. I'm going to go work for him.
Yeah.
This guy's going to pay me $2 more an hour. All his friends, they weren't so concerned about how much they're making right now on their paycheck.
Right.
They stayed working for the same people. And this guy, he was a superintendent out in the field, sweating it out, working. And he said, all my friends, they make 5 times as much as me. They're retired. They're presidents, vice presidents, owners, because they stuck with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't get consumed with trying to make as much as they could as soon as they can.
Yeah.
You build it.
Yeah.
When we're building a job, you don't have the finished product right away.
Right.
It takes you a year.
Right.
You start with it's dirty. It's just, I don't want to say disgusting. It's not disgusting, but it's dirty. It's mess everywhere. It's chaos at times. But you got to get through that to get the finished product.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get through that. That's good. That's good. I love how you say a career is built. I think that's something that people forget a lot. And we're all very impatient. I'm at the top of the list at being impatient. But everything that I have that's worth anything has come from a multitude of patience.
Yeah.
I've never had anything rushed that
Yeah.
has been worth it. Matter of fact, most of the things that I've gotten that are rushed are gone. They're not even a part of my life.
Well, and I mean, once you're there, it's like, oh man, it doesn't feel like all that. When you're in the midst of it, it's like, oh, you're a first year apprentice.
Yeah.
Man, 4 years, that's forever.
Yeah.
And then you blink and you're there.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you just got to deal with a little bit of pain sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'll come. The Bible says a diligent man prospers, and you just got to be diligent.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a favorite verse of mine. I love that verse. I always ask people this question, usually as we're coming to a close here. This has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's very valuable. Nathan, what is a mistake that you've made in work or in life that you would be willing to share with our listeners that you've learned from? That they might be able to learn from you sharing it, that they might not make the same mistake. And he's already shared one where, I think maybe don't tell your foreman when you're a foreman.
Yeah, when I'm a foreman, I'm going to do this.
But
yeah. There's been so many mistakes. So I think this is kind of a big one. It's kind of related to patience. I remember it was early on. I was running a job, and this is how you communicate that you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I had a there was a subcontract. We had, it was a big job, and so we had to bring some extra help. So we had some subs that were working for us. And there's one guy, I don't remember all the, there's a couple, it was kind of a litany of things, This one guy, he was a few minutes late. It was like 5 minutes, and I was stressed. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
He was like 5 minutes late, and there was hard hats in the gang box, and but I guess somebody had taken his hard hat and was wearing it. It was a little nicer or whatever, and so it was just left with this Gunji hard hat. And at the time, it was just like, I can't believe I did that to that guy. I was like, oh, whatever, you were late. You just got to wear the crappy hard hat. And then I was like, well, you know what? While you're at it, you were 5 minutes late. Make sure you take that off your time sheet. And I was we had a little gator at furthest. It was a warehouse job.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the gator when I talked to him. I was like, you know what? Take that 5 minutes off your time clock, and if you don't like your hard hat, then just go get another time clock. Make sure to take that off too. And then I just drove away on my little gator, and I didn't give him a chance to respond. And I should have had much more grace for the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, I was a jerk.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you're frustrated, I was stressed.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was, I lost 5 minutes from this guy. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
And I look back and I mean, how many times should I have been fired? How many times did I mess things up? And my boss never responded to me like that. Never. Listen, if I was late, hey, you were late. We start at this time.
Yeah.
We really need you to be here at this time.
Yeah.
And, there's always excuses.
Yeah.
It's, whatever. There's always excuses. But it's just, I could have handled that so much differently. I could have paused.
Yeah.
I could have thought
Yeah.
about, what's this, if I was in this guy's shoes, how would I take that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have taken that well.
Yeah.
And you could, I mean, just like that short little bit of impatience, this is a sub, but if this is one of your employees and you treat him like that and that makes him want to quit, if you would treat him with some patience and respect,
Yeah.
maybe someday he could be an owner-operator.
Yeah.
And if I'm short with him, am I ruining that guy's career?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I would never be where I'm at if my bosses would have been like how I was with that guy. And so
I wonder in the trades and in construction how many people we lose to, because what you share is not an uncommon attitude. And I wonder how many people we lose to being treated that way, where they're like, I don't want to work in this environment.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to come down on you. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, and I've been guilty of stupid responses, I will call them.
Yeah.
And I think when we're stressed and we're in that place, it's like whenever we're in fear mode and we look at things like that, where it's like, 5 minutes didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter at all. And the reality is, but we're in fear mode. It's like, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. It's like, that's when we need to pause.
Yeah.
Every time, almost every time that I have done something like that, I have been in fear mode.
Yeah.
And I've been responding to my fear of the situation rather than my care for the individual.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I mean, with parenthood,
Yeah.
I mean, if you respond immediately to your kids when they mess up and you're angry,
Yeah.
you know, they don't learn anything.
Yeah.
Then they're going to be, then they're so worried about getting in trouble. But it's like, when I can take time with my kids and like, hey, we need to talk about this. And they get all worked up. Oh, I don't want to be in trouble.
Yeah.
It's just like, listen,
Yeah.
we made a mistake.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this.
That's right.
I'm not angry.
Yeah.
We need to talk about it. Then they can actually learn.
Yeah.
But when we just respond because we're stressed and frustrated and whatever,
Yeah.
so I think that's, I think I've done that multiple times in my career, and I've learned to just, sometimes you need to address something right away.
Yeah.
But if somebody's doing something dangerous, be like, hey man, but it's okay to pause. We don't always have to be, some people, well, I say it how I see it. And it's like, that's not always helpful.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to pause and think about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think in the trades in the blue collar world, we're full of statements like, I say it how I see it. Yeah, but you can say it in a right way and you can say it in a wrong way. Yeah. This past year I was speaking somewhere and I did one of those, I told the truth, and it ended a relationship.
Yeah.
It ended a relationship, and I did tell the truth, but I didn't say it in the right way. And sometimes you don't need to say it at all.
Yeah. Well, and then there's a degree too that I think sometimes you do need to say something. It's hard. I don't like correcting people.
Yeah.
I don't. It's uncomfortable for me. I don't want them to be angry.
I think that's something that people really struggle with, and a lot in business we let a lot of things in culture and business go awry.
Yeah.
Because of how difficult it is to address a situation or an individual, because we don't want to do that because it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, it's
I'm frustrated with this guy. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna talk to him in an hour.
Yeah.
Well, and then I'm gonna talk to him at the end of the day. I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then it's too late. And then he didn't learn from that.
Yeah. I often have to have hard conversations in my work. And if I have to have a hard conversation, I'll set an alert on my phone. I need to talk with this person at this time. And that way, and I give myself enough time that I can prepare for it. But that way it's like, if that alert comes and goes, then I feel like I didn't do my job. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it forces me to do that. So,
and that's something I still struggle with it.
Yeah.
Lot,
Well, I think the struggle continues, but I think the facing it and showing up and going after it, that's the thing that we need to continue to do. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that I love about this country, that I love about the trades. It's that not only the innovation, but the fortitude and the grit to be able to continue to face the work that's in front of us and do the job. In the skilled trades, we bring buildings and equipment and infrastructure, all of those things, they come out of the ground. And I think that the trades, the industry, construction, is one of the most difficult industries to do that. Is we're not in a controlled area. We deal with weather, we deal with people, we deal with, you're not ever going to start a project and not run into an issue. It's not going to happen. And the cool thing about where we live and the industry that we are in is the fact that we get to do that, which means we continue to get to grow another 4% outside of ourselves, another 4% further, growing step by step, building a career over time, as you said. Mm-hmm. Nathan, I really appreciate you stepping up to the line here this morning on one of the hottest weeks of the century, and sitting out here in some American farmland, having a real and honest conversation. From where you started to where you are, I really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.